A 1, a 2, a skiddy. Today, we're going to be talking about if you should go for a Boston Marathon qualifying time. Now, my answer to this depends on who is asking. For example, if my students were asking me, hey, Kara, do you think I should go for a Boston Marathon qualifying time like you? I genuinely would probably say no. So I'm going to talk about a lot of the reasons of why you should not go for a Boston Marathon qualifying time. And then we'll get into the reasons why maybe you're the type of person that should. Let's start with it. So the first thing you need to consider is your relationship with yourself. Are you too hard on yourself? Are you not hard on yourself? Are you too, how do I say this, too easy on yourself? Are you one of those people that's disciplined enough where you can push yourself? All of these you have to take into account because the actual training is not going to be fun. The night before the race is not going to be fun. You're going to be a wreck. It just puts so much on the line. It shifts your whole perception of what running is to you. If you already look at running like it's a competition, then maybe it's not going to be such a bad thing. Let's start with some of the cons. So you start getting in this thing called the numbers game. Essentially, it shifts your perception of what running is to you in a couple of different ways. So the first way that I'm going to talk about is you start chasing numbers. What I mean by that is that every little thing in your training plan turns into a number in some form. Whether that be, I have to make sure that my intervals are this fast or it's the end of the world. I need to make sure that I get this many miles in every week or it's the end of the world. I need to make sure that my heart rate doesn't get above this number or it's the end of the world because it's supposed to be an easy run. Or like I have this many more days until race day. There's just so many things that turn into numbers when we are going for a Boston Marathon qualifying time. Some of the other things that suck about training for the Boston Marathon. So if you are one of those people where you don't push yourself very hard, you're very nice on yourself, you listen to your body a lot, you give yourself self-care and what you need, I don't think that you should go for a Boston Marathon qualifying time. Now, I'm only saying this because in the training plan, you kind of do hit a point where you're gonna break. And in order to actually prepare yourself to BQ, you need to push yourself even after you've already had that break. And it's really not easy to do to yourself. Additionally, if you're one of those people that is super disciplined and you're like, oh, that's right up my alley. If I tell myself to do something, I'm gonna do it. Unfortunately, that can also backfire on you because if you think about it, you are being so distracting. I can't. If you are somebody who is very disciplined and can be hard on themselves because of it, like for example, oh, I don't care if I'm sick, I never miss a workout. That is a good trait to have, except you can injure yourself during the training. Or the worst part is if you do not get that Boston Marathon qualifying time on your race where you tried to do it. This is a whole other can of worms, but if you dedicate yourself and you push yourself so hard and you do not get that time, it is one of the hardest feelings in the world. So there's this theory in running where after you train for your first marathon and you know your whole life is consumed with training for it and you get ready for it and then you're so excited the night before and then race day comes and then you're running and then you're loving it and then it's getting really hard and you have to mentally tell yourself to finish it, and it's just all of this emotions, this whole thing that came down to that one race day. After you're done with it, after you finally finish it, you start to get this thing called the post-marathon blues. And so the thing with that is essentially because you have dedicated so much of your time, your body, your mental energy with the marathon, when you finally finish it, you feel so great. And then you realize this moment of, well, what do I do with my life now? I finished a marathon. And people naturally, like, yeah, they get the medal, they feel good, but they get depressed because they just feel like, I don't know what to do now. If you think about it, if you're like really invested in like a Netflix show or something, like super invested, when you finish it, you get that depressed feeling of like, well, now what do I do? Now, This is the hard part because yes, you can for sure get that still if you do successfully run a Boston Marathon qualifying time, but I swear you get it 10 times worse if you attempt and you put all the work into it and you don't get it. If you're one of those people that's really hard on yourself, I do not think that going for a Boston Marathon qualifying time is for you. So when I did first attempt to BQ, it was really, really, really hard for me. It was one of the worst experiences ever. I did record it all on YouTube. If you're interested in watching an emotional train wreck, I do have the series of that. That was the first time that I did a cycle. And then I did BQ, and I will tell you right now, that was like the most rewarding feeling ever, because that feeling of winning is amazing. And then over the summer, I did another cycle of training to attempt to BQ again because I did not make the cutoff time. And we'll talk a little bit about that later. I did not make the cutoff time and I tried my hardest to BQ. I actually think that I overtrained. It was so hard when I didn't qualify after I had done the training plan. I tried again a couple weeks later thinking that maybe it just wasn't my race, and I got the exact same time. I did not BQ. So that feeling of not getting it is like the post-marathon blues on steroids. Another way that it changes the dynamic of running is the amount of pressure that you are constantly going to feel on yourself. Not just during the race, but during the training as well. And so if you're someone who loves running, then you really have to consider how much this is going to change your outlook on running. For so long, I was one of those people where I just ran marathons. Like, I didn't care about my time. I just wanted to go and have fun and feel good and talk to the volunteers, enjoy the music, just kind of get on cloud nine. And I did that for a couple of years. And then I naturally was just getting faster and faster. My marathon times were getting better and better and better. And eventually there was a time where I'm like, maybe if I dedicated myself, I could really actually BQ. Well, I went off of that mentality and I went for a BQ with very little training, and it didn't work out. It just set me up for failure. And in that moment, I realized if this is something that I want, then it's gonna take a lot of work to get it. I was so naive. I genuinely thought, I'm not exaggerating, I genuinely thought that if you just consistently exercised every single day, or maybe 5 to 6 days a week, that anyone could run a marathon if they just went slow. And that the only way to improve your marathon times was to try harder on race day. I was so naive. I literally thought that you can only get yourself fit enough to a certain point, and then after that, it's all strategy and trying your hardest on race day. I don't know what was wrong with me. I guess that was my theory, because that's what I did for so long. And so what started happening after I kind of made that shift from running marathons not for fun to try and get faster and beat my time, I think that it's not talked about enough, where every single marathon, when you're trying to get a new PR or go for a new goal, during that marathon, every single moment needs to be you focusing on your strategy, focusing on how you're feeling, focusing on pacing yourself, focusing on how much energy you're exerting. There's not really a lot of time for enjoying it and having fun. That's kind of something that just doesn't occur when you're going for a specific time. You are way less in your own place during the race, kind of just having a happy, good time, because you are so focused, because you took so many months to build up to what you are currently doing right now. And so no, you're not going to be there to stop and chat with the volunteers or to take some pictures or absorb the memories in your brain of what beautiful sights you're seeing. You are really just all in your head. I mean, when you are going that fast and trying that hard, you can't even hear the music. I swear, you don't even know what songs you're listening to. My mom asked me after the marathon that I BQ'd at, she goes, "So what were you listening to the whole time?" And I said, "Mom, when you are going that fast, you can't even think about what you're listening to." All right, let's talk about some reasons why you should go for that BQ. Number 1, bragging rights. It is a great accomplishment and milestone for you to have in the running community. Anyone who knows a little bit about running will ask you if you've done a marathon. Oh, have you done Boston? Have you done Boston? Even if they don't know what that means, it's just kind of like a well-known thing. So it would be kind of cool to be like, yeah, if you have. Unfortunately, I feel like it's more embarrassing for me because when people ask if I've done Boston, I say, oh, I qualified. And then they ask, oh, when is it? And I'm like, oh, well, I didn't make cutoff. And that brings me to my next point, the cutoff times. Bro, so unpredictable. We don't even know what the cutoff times are until like a couple months before the race. Okay, to be honest, all I wanted to do was qualify. I didn't really want to run Boston. Now, of course, I want to run Boston because us as runners, we always have more and more and more and more and more goals, or else we just get stagnant. Anyways, bragging rights. So just to be able to have that thing, it kind of boosts your self-esteem as a runner, I'm not gonna lie. There's this little tag that they give out at races when you BQ for Revel races that says Boston qualifier on it, and that thing is my baby. It's just a little piece of plastic with a little keychain on it type thing, and it is my baby. That thing was so hard to earn. I will cherish that forever. Another good thing about BQing is, so there's this complex in running where people don't feel like they've done enough to even identify as a runner. For example, my friend, she only runs a couple miles a day, and she told me, oh, I'm not a runner like you. And I told her, I said, okay, well, what qualifies someone as a runner? And she goes, oh, I don't know, someone who runs a lot. And I'm like, well, what's a lot? And she goes, like frequently. And I'm like thinking in my head, I'm like, girl, you run frequently. And she's like, well, no, like someone who runs races. And I'm like, okay, so you're running a 5K once a week. Just because it's not something you get a medal, then that qualifies you as not being a runner anymore? Miss Ellie, please don't tear up the couch, baby. Sit. You wanna come here? Come here. Come here. And I was like, okay, so if you do a 10K, does that make you a runner? If you do a half marathon, then does that make you a runner? Or do you have to run a full-ass marathon before you would consider yourself a runner? And she goes, oh, I guess you're right. I'm like, the only thing holding you back from being a runner is calling yourself a runner. You are more a runner than most of the people in this country. If we think about it like that, a lot of people struggle with that. Even people that have done marathons sometimes still don't really feel like they're a valid runner. So if you get that BQ, I mean, come on. How could you argue that someone's not a runner if they have a BQ tag? I'm talking about people who have their own insecurity with that they don't feel like they're a valid runner. I mean, I don't know how much more proof you need. So because I posted my BQ series semi-recently, obviously I had to rewatch all of them to make sure that I was cutting out X, Y, and Z thing or whatever. It just kind of brought back a lot of memories about how hard that whole situation was. I was never not sore. I was running through injuries. The book literally said, you will get injured. It's just about, is the injury severe enough that it's going to stop you from running? I really did push away everybody. It just consumes your life. One of the things that really helped me with BQing is having my partner literally tell me, because I asked him permission before, because I told him, Luis, this is going to be really hard on my body. I am going to be physically not all there. Are you okay with that? And having him say, yes, Kara, if this is something that you want to BQ and it's going to do this to your body for 3 months, I will support you in that. So just having that partner there, and he knew what was going on and he helped me, it's a really big deal. So if you're somebody who has a lot of other people dependent on you, you might want to look at, is your family or other people in your life who rely on you in a place right now where they can help you? Or right now, are you very needed? Maybe there's some problems that you have at home, or it's just not the time right now. You do have to evaluate the next 3 months of your life and what is expected to happen. Obviously, things happen that we can't plan, but you need to look at that and decide, is this an appropriate time for me to really put myself out there and try to BQ? Okay, now this is one that I didn't know was necessary. You need to have somebody be there for you if you don't qualify. Somebody who is prepared with how to make you feel better when you are trying your best at that race and you have that realization, like, it's not going to be my day. I'm not going to do it today. You need to have somebody that isn't just telling you, like, you still got it, pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. You need to have somebody who knows what you need to hear in that moment if it doesn't work out for you. So with me, the script that I told my husband to say is, if you receive a call from me during the race and I say, I can't do it, it's not my day, babe, I need you to tell me, that's okay, Kara, just finish the race. That's all. That's all I wanted to hear, because you know when it's not going to be your day and you need somebody to rely on. And sometimes people don't know what to say. Actually, I would argue that most people don't know what to say. They don't want to be like, oh, it's okay, you be all right, we just don't finish. Or somebody that's like, no, babe, you got it, don't give up. Like, if it's a marathon and you're at mile 20 and you know you're hitting the wall and not going to make it, you're just going to make the person feel worse if you keep pushing them. You know, and everybody has their own script. So make sure that you have someone on deck for that. So in conclusion, I think that the only reason someone should go for a BQ is they've already done a lot of marathons and maybe they're kind of plateauing. They want this challenge. They are not super hard on themselves, but also they're very disciplined, and that they're willing to accept that it very easily could not be your day. Race day has so many variables that we don't know. If you go into that race knowing it's okay if this isn't my day, and you mentally have prepared yourself for the fact that you might not BQ that day, then I think, hey, go for it. It is one of the greatest feelings in the world when you do Boston qualify, just to then get let down and told that you're not going to be able to participate in the Boston Marathon, and told that the cutoff time makes it so sorry you're not good enough. But who am I to say that? It's just all about who you are and what you want, and if you're okay with trying your best and knowing that won't always work out. If you do want to go for it, hey, I support you. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and sorry if I didn't mention everything that I wanted to. I'm still kind of learning how to do this whole YouTube thing, and have a nice day.